Well, hello again, all the boys and girls out there in YouTube land watching Georgia Beer Reviews. Back at you today with another one. And what I've got is a beer from Boulevard Brewing Company out of Kansas City, Missouri. This is the Rye on Rye Barrel Aged Ale. It is a rye ale aged in rye whiskey barrels. Clocks in at 12.2% ABV. Best by date January 5th, 2024. So this is a beer that will definitely age for a little bit. They've put this out in other years. I think the ABV has been slightly higher, different in other years. But this particular version is 12.2 right there on the label. Love the Boulevard bowling pin bottles, as I like to call them. Never had this beer, but I've heard many good things. So let's go ahead and get into it. Nice caramel color. Very fizzy. Sounds like a soda pop as you pour it in the glass. Lots of streaming bubbles going up the glass. Very small head, which is dissipating very quickly. White, foamy head. Definitely getting the barrel right up front. A little caramel, a little toffee, a little oak. Almost a little bit of a vanilla note in there. It doesn't necessarily smell boozy, but because it's a lighter beer, it's not a stout porter, 12.2% it's getting up there. A little bit of the alcohol's coming through on the nose. It kind of singes the nostrils a little bit. Nothing off at all with the aroma. Smells really good, but pretty straightforward. Yeah. So, without further ado, let's get into this brew. Cheers. Caramel, a little toffee. It's very rich, where the caramel is becoming toffee. It's a little bit more than just your standard caramel, your Werther's original, so to speak. Carbonation with this is actually nice. It's on the low end of medium. The body is medium. It's not super heavy because it is a little bit thinner. With the style, it's just an ale, a barrel aged ale. There's a little bit of a spice kick coming from the rye whiskey barrels, but it's not too much different than if they were just to age it in a bourbon or just a standard whiskey barrel. You're getting more of the oak than the actual character from whatever was in the barrel. It's more of the barrel itself that's kind of coming through. The alcohol is not super masked. It's a little bit thinner with the body and the mouthfeel, being that it's just an ale and not porter or a stout. So a little bit more of that alcohol is coming through on the finish. It is slightly warming going down as well. So you can tell that this is a higher ABV beer, but that being said, it's extremely smooth and easy drinking. It's a great sipper. I did have this sitting out for a little bit, so it has warmed up a little bit. As these types of beers warm, you get a little bit more depth of flavor and they kind of develop. And that's what has happened. Vanilla, I mentioned that on the aroma. A little bit of vanilla coming through on the palate, which is probably just coming from the rye barrels that they aged this beer in. A lot of good bourbons, a lot of good rye whiskeys that I've had have that little bit of a vanilla note, and that's what I'm getting from this without a ton of sweetness, like vanilla sweetness. Like if they were to actually add vanilla bean to this beer, for instance. A very enjoyable drinking experience. Let me get another sip. Really an amazing beer. A lot of hype around this beer, at least in from what I've heard from my friends that have had this. It's definitely not a bad beer, but it doesn't quite live up to what I was expecting it to be. But it's still an excellent beer nonetheless. I'm going to give it a 95 out of 100. I think it's a solid A beer. I definitely would recommend it. Boulevard puts out some amazing barrel aged beers. I think this one is no exception. It does have some nice little rye spice notes, some great barrel presence, as with all of the Boulevard barrel aged beers that I've had. I would have liked maybe a little bit more body, a little bit of the alcohol to be masked a little bit more than it is. Not that I really mind boozy beers. I've had a lot of boozy beers over the years, and a lot of times they're really, really good. And this one is as well. But I feel like for what this beer is, I feel like maybe the alcohol should be masked a little bit more on the palate. The finish, swallowing it down, getting a little bit of that 12.2 like as a warming effect, and from the barrel, that's one thing. But to actually get the warmth in the middle of the sip and to kind of taste a little bit of the alcohol, that's why it's getting dropped down to a 95 and it's not like a 98 or 99, because otherwise I think it really would be that high for me, because it really is an outstanding beer and has a great flavor profile. I just wish there was a little bit more of it and that alcohol was masked a little bit better. So 95 out of 100 for the Boulevard Rye on Rye Barrel Aged Ale, Kansas City, Missouri. If you can find this beer in your area, then it is definitely worth a try. So buy it, try it, let me know what you guys think. That'll do it for this beer review. Hope you're all having a wonderful day, and until next time, everybody, cheers.